Hey everyone, I'm Alex with Crown Rail Stoves. Today we are going to be replacing the Aquastat in our Pristine. We're actually going to be replacing the Emerson controller with the new Ranco. Some of the tools you're going to want to have is an impact, or you can use a wrench or a socket drive, but you're going to want a 1/4 inch bit and a 5/16 bit. I've got some silicone. You can use just regular clear silicone, or you can use a high temp silicone. I've got some snips and some electrical tape. In some cases you may want to have a little grease or maybe some dish soap to help insert the probe into the thermal well, and then also maybe like a small screwdriver to clean the thermal well out before installing the probe. So that should be it as far as what we need. We're just going to go ahead and dive right into this. All right, so very important note, before you get started on this project, you will want to make sure you disconnect the power to the stove, whether you're unplugging it or directly killing the power at the breaker box. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and remove the faceplate. I've got a 5/16 bit. I'm going to use an impact for this. I'm just going to remove these 4 screws. Set them down there. Just kind of carefully pull this out. We're going to be working with this red pigtail, this white pigtail, and this green is our ground. Okay, so we've got our faceplate control panel removed. I do want to make note that this is pre-wired for an E, and we are switching this from an Emerson controller to a Ranco. So we cannot reuse the old probe wire. So if you had bought this Aquastat and it was not pre-wired specifically for your model, you would have to remove these 4 screws, disassemble the Aquastat, and wire this up yourself. We won't be showing that in this video as we have one pre-wired. And now basically what we're going to do is we're going to start disconnecting the old Aquastat and we're going to install the new Ranco. Okay, I'm going to start disconnecting these pigtails. I'm only going to be disconnecting the wires that are connected to the Aquastat. So we're going to take note. All of the whites are pretty self-explanatory. This black wire though does come down to the 3-way switch, so there is one to the 3-way switch, and then we've got 2 reds, and then we've also got our ground wires. And then again, because we're switching to a different style controller, a different brand, we can't reuse the probe wire. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut this probe wire, and then we're going to use this to fish the new probe through the stove. Okay, we've got all of our wires disconnected. Now we need to remove these 2 screws. So I'm going to switch from my 5/16 to my 1/4 inch to remove these and the ground wire. All right, so we've got our new Aquastat in place. First thing I'm going to do is connect our black wire. And that goes to the 3-way switch. Then we've got our 2 red wires. and our 3 white wires. And our 2 grounds. Once our wires are connected, we can go ahead and tape our new probe to our old probe wire. And then we're going to pull the old probe wire, and that'll pull the new probe wire through the side of the stove. So I'm just going to overlap them a couple inches. And it shouldn't take too much tape, but you want to make sure that it's tight and that it's going to hold, because the last thing you want to happen is for this to come undone with your new probe wire only halfway through the stove. All right, we're going to come to the back of the stove. I'm just going to remove the door for this. Gives me a little bit more room and helps you guys see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this probe wire through, and while I'm doing so, I'm going to watch the side of the stove to make sure that the new probe wire is getting fed through, because you don't want it to snag. I just snagged, so now I'm going to come around to the side of the stove. Kind of try to help it. There we go. Oh, there it is. And there we go. We can remove our tape. And now we are ready to remove the old probe from the thermal well on the back of the boiler. Okay, so I'm going to remove this insulation. I'll get that out of the way. Here's our old probe wire. It's usually got some silicone around it. I'm going to pull that off. And then that old probe should just pull right out. Remove any debris that's in there. I'll probably just grab a screwdriver or something of the sort and try to pick away and just make sure that I've got a nice clean surface, nice clean area to push the new probe into. Okay, so I've got our old probe wire removed. I'm just going to kind of thread this new probe wire in through this insulation cover, and then if you've got this kind of silicone rubber style probe end and it's a little tight going in, you can always just put a little dab of dish soap on the end of it. Doesn't take much, and it should just go right in. Once you've got the probe fully inserted, you're going to take some caulk and just fill in the hole around the probe. We've got our new probe installed in our insulation cover, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back around to the side of the stove and pull this so it's just a little bit tighter and just looks a little bit neater. And I can go a little bit more. Looks good. Okay, so we've got our probe wire fished through our stove. We've got all of our pigtails hooked up. It's time to put this control panel back into place. And we're just gonna do this nice and slow and just carefully tuck the wires back into the stove. You don't wanna play with the insulation too much back there. Okay, and then we're ready to start installing our screws. I've switched to our 5/16 bit. Okay, so now that we've got our Aquastat installed, the first thing we're going to do is turn our power back on to our stove, and then we're going to come over and flip it to fan, and we're just going to step through the settings just to make sure everything is set correctly. Now the first thing you'll notice is the stove kicked on because it is calling for heat. The number that's displayed immediately on the screen is the water temp of the boiler currently. When I hit set, it's going to take me to either Fahrenheit or Celsius. In this case, we're going to have it set to Fahrenheit. The next step is going to be the set temp of the boiler. And I've got that set for 180 degrees. This is your differential, so I've got it set for 10. So that means the boiler is going to kick on at 170 degrees. This is really important to check. Make sure that this is set for H1. If it's set for C1, the Aquastat is set for cooling and your stove will not work properly. The next setting you don't have to worry about. Just make sure it says 0 and hit set again, and it'll take us right back to our current water temp. And that's it. That is how you switch out your Aquastat. The same process would be if you were switching from a Ranco controller to a new Ranco controller. The only difference is, if you would like, you can use the old probe, as long as you know for sure that the problem wasn't the probe. So if you were just having like a display issue with your Ranco controller, you're more than welcome to just leave that probe in there, but then that would require you to take the Aquastat apart and wire the old probe into the new Aquastat. All right, everyone, that is a wrap for our Aquastat installation. I hope you found this video helpful, and I also want to thank you for being a part of the Crown Royal Stoves family, and I hope you have a wonderful day.